the new threat of today is really cyber threat. And when you look at Zimbabwe as a nation, we are one of the most cyber attacked countries in the whole of Africa. And this is probably due to a number of reasons. Firstly, we're using the United States dollar currency, and we are now largely, a plastic money society as well.
From where you stand, where do you see the biggest vulnerabilities in Zimbabwe's digital ecosystem right now?
It's going to be at your human layer. If there's no awareness, people are just prone to attacks. If you look at a bank, these are technology entities. It's no longer a brick and mortar. If you look at insurance, it's all digitalized processes. So we need to develop a cyber-aware culture.
Now, if I would go back a bit, have you ever been in a position where those values that you say are the ones I was instilled with and I would want to instill within the organization, they were tested?
Definitely. I think in the context of being in Zimbabwe, you're presented with tests at every level.
Today on the Simudzirayi Podcast, we are joined by one of the most influential voices shaping Zimbabwe's digital future. A man who took leadership at a remarkably young age and today stands at the forefront of ICT innovation, cybersecurity, and enterprise infrastructure. My name is Tinashe Simudzirayi, and I am your host with the most. Please allow me to welcome the Managing Director of Compulink, Simon. Welcome to the podcast.
Thank you so much, Tinashe. I'm happy to be on the show.
Okay, with this podcast, I understand we have a whole facets of topics or conversations that we want to talk about, particularly in the industry that you come from, or rather the sector that you represent, which is more or less related to the buzzword, or rather the hype word. People are talking about artificial intelligence nowadays. But before we get into that, I understand you also have this remarkable journey. You became a managing director at a very young age, 22 if I'm not mistaken. And I stand to be corrected, of course. I want to understand what was really the most difficult part of you stepping into leadership before most people even start their careers. I mean, I'm 25. I'm 25 and I'm still a trainee, but you managed to step into that particular zone at a very young age. What was it like?
It was very difficult. Leading people who are older than you is always a difficult task. And you're quite right. I was appointed the managing director at 22. So, having to instruct people who are older than you, I think that was one of the most difficult things. But I think what helped me was to become credible based on merit. And as I grew in merit, my credibility also grew. So when you look at relationships, relationships move at the speed of trust. Okay. And as I started to garner the trust of my team members, it resulted in getting that credibility as well. So I think that was probably the thing which I found the most difficult.
Yeah. Now that you've touched on, I think I wouldn't really say it's a sensitive subject, but very important subject, the issue of relationships, because like when we're looking at you started at a very young age. I'd like to believe that you had relationships with people that were close to you, more say your age. And you also had individuals that you looked up to, possibly mentors or possibly role models. Do you have any specific mentors that you would say, I looked at this particular individual and they shaped my whole scope of leadership within this particular organization?
Yeah, definitely. So I'll definitely need to pay homage to my parents because they gave me the platform. So though they gave me the reins, I was still getting, a lot of my guidance and guardrails from them and learning from them and learning from their mistakes. So from a young age, they gave me exposure and I knew the information. So I knew everything that was going on within the business, whether it was bank statements, sales reports, our inventory levels, or even some of the challenges which were happening within the business. So I'll definitely say my parents. I'd say my pastor, senior pastor, Pastor Tom Duchel. He's really been a beacon of light in terms of teachings on faith and leadership, which also helped shape me along the way. And many other mentors along the way have also been able to guide me and have helped me immensely grow in my leadership journey.
Okay. Now that you've touched about all those individuals that assisted you to become the individual that you are today, and you being in a position where you're leading all the different employees that you have at Compulink, including the ones that you're saying they were older than you, how has your values as an individual influenced the culture at Compulink, maybe in terms of performance or maybe just in terms of how people are surviving together within that whole scope of the organization?
Yeah, so your values are everything. And I think another one of my mentors, Dr. Peter Chikumba, taught me a lot in terms of values. One of the key things was on the value of integrity.
Yeah.
And basically, integrity means, you know, who I am in secret and who I am in public is the same thing. Or another value statement for integrity is that I do what I say I will do. So what I've committed to do, I actually then accomplish and I then do. So really, the values have really become the essence and really the aura of the organization, because you carry your values wherever you go.
Yeah.
And your values are basically the tools that will equip you as you pursue your vision and as you move towards the mission of the organization. So those values, and even the values which were already there within the organization, Compulink being a Christian organization, they've helped us immensely along the path of being within business, and just instilling that same culture. So much so that even new members who've joined the organization have been able to imbibe of that culture. That there are certain conversations that they can't get involved in with clients, because off the bat, if an opportunity is there to pay a bribe, if an opportunity is there to circumvent a process, they don't even need to even present it. But at their level, they're able to actually say, oh, unfortunately, at our organization, we're a Christian organization, and it won't be possible. So it's great to see that those values permeate throughout the team, and you develop that culture. And a wise man said that your culture will always eat your strategy for breakfast.
If I am to get you right, or rather to paraphrase your definition of integrity in similar terms, we're essentially saying that you are more of walking the talk rather than staying on the course where you're just talking the talk, but there's no action that really represent the same words that you are sharing or that you're talking about. Now, if I would go back a bit, have you ever been in a position where those values that you say are the ones I was instilled with and I would want to instill within the organization, they were tested?
Definitely. I think in the context of being in Zimbabwe, you're presented with tests at every level. And as a business person, I can look at numerous occasions where we could have gotten ahead through unrighteous trading floors or an unrighteous means. But, every single time, even through those tests, every single time that in our journey, on my journey, that I've tried to circumvent a process, I've always found out that the shortcut usually ends up becoming a long cut. And the wounds are actually there. And, from those trying times and those trying tests, there are several business opportunities which we've walked away from, or instances where we've become unpopular, even to certain clients, because of certain stances that we haven't taken.
Yeah.
But my true the true lesson which has come out is that every time you try to take a shortcut, it actually ends up with a long cut, and the bruises are there. So the tests are there, but it's always something that you always have to overcome, and choose to do things through the straight and narrow. And once you've done that, you actually then realize, hindsight 2020, that we actually made the right decision. And it's just a maturity, Tinashe, to actually say that if this business opportunity wasn't for us, it wasn't for us, and that God is going to bring the right opportunity. That's for us. And we've lost certain clients along the way, but God's brought new clients, to us in the absence of sorrow that other opportunities were probably going to present.
Mm-hmm. Well, before I jump straight into the thrust of what Compulink exactly does, still on your journey, did you ever face any crisis that you felt that this is the one that broke me, or this is the one that made me? And what did you learn from it?
Yeah, definitely. So, Tinashe, we were involved in what was going to be a greenfield project. There was a potential project to launch a mobile, before mobile money had gained traction here, before most of the banks had come up with mobile applications. And, we were very fortunate to be engaged by a company to be part of this project. Yeah. So we were working on this project flat out. And at that junction, at that moment, we could have actually, or we probably even walked away from certain projects because it looked so exciting, it looked so appealing. Yeah. Unfortunately, midway through the project needed to be suspended because the partner, or the bank which we're supposed to be working with and to onboard, had taken a different direction and a different path. Yeah. So this landed us in serious debt, because the goods we had brought in were no longer paid for. So I think that was the most trying and testing moment for us. Yeah. So really, as an entity and as an organization, we really needed to pivot. So much so, we're owing so many vendors money, so many partners money, and that I would say was one of the most difficult seasons and darkest times within our journey, because at that moment, even closure was something which we could have possibly contemplated. Yeah. Obviously not caused by doings of our own, but through the environment. But really, along that journey, I think one of the things that Dr. Edwin Lewis Cole says is that perseverance will always outlast persecution. Is we were able just to persevere even in the midst of the storm, even in the midst of the trials and the tribulations. And at one point, we actually had to even move the organization to home, just to actually keep the lights on. But we're happy to say that we were able to rise above the storms of what beset us at that time and at that season.
Mm-hmm. Well, I'm trying to figure out, because I'm thinking during that period of time, I'd like to believe that you had a certain reputation within the industry, and because of that reputation, you also had individuals that understood the way that you operated, or rather that believed in the brand Compulink, as well as you also having other employees. So during that particular time, how did you manage these different stakeholders? Because you've got vendors that you need to pay, you've got employees that need to be paid their salaries, possibly you've got rentals, amongst many other costs that you had to make sure that you cater for. How did you manage to go through around all those issues?
Thanks for that, Tinashe. So one of the entities who we used to deal with, they would do our clearances at some stage because of credibility. they would actually pre-fund our customs duty, which is quite a rare occasion to actually have an entity that's basically pre-funding you when you're bringing in goods, even large value goods. And what the general manager of that organization at the time said, when we were delaying making payments, they said communication is free. And, they were having issues with our finance manager at the time to say, I'm asking for follow-ups, you're not giving me feedback. But we also need to plan as an organization. So one of the lessons that he taught me was that communication is free. And as an entity and as an organization, you need to be able to communicate the good. You need to be able to communicate the bad. So to anticipate, to say, I acknowledge that I am owing you this amount, but I've reached this situation because of these circumstances. And we were able to then communicate that. Some of the entities didn't take it so well, but just through that communication, some of the organizations started to then understand. And one of the organizations, we said, okay, we're owing you money, but we still have potential business. So business was still coming. And because of the credibility of the organization's been around from 1991, we were fortunate that, we were still able to get some of the clients which we had. The brand was still intact. It was still solid. We lost key staff along the way, but even some of the partners were able to say, can we structure a payment plan? Can we trade out our debt? If you close the funnel on us now, how will we ever be able to pay you back your debt? So yes, we owe you money, but we do have orders that are here at the moment. And remarkably, some of the entities then actually came on board and we were able to come up with mechanisms where we actually traded out the debt. And, a lot of these organizations were still now dealing with, in fact, I could safely say all of these organizations were actually still trading with. So you have to be transparent. You have to acknowledge where you're at, and you need to then build line upon line and precept upon precept, but you have to communicate. So that was an early lesson in terms of communication, and that's something which we've also brought to our entity and our organization to say, let's communicate, let's over-communicate, let's communicate the good, let's communicate the bad. And, one of the other lessons that I've learned along the journey is where you can, always under-promise with the goal to be able to then over-deliver.
When you can under-promise with the goal of over-delivering. So how has Compulink then evolved from that particular period to the day that we are right now?
Yeah, so I'm happy to say that the organization has managed to evolve, rebuild, pivot from those circumstances. And, as an organization, we found ourselves back in the black. And the organization has started to grow again. So throughout the journey, Compulink rebranded. We rebranded after our 30th anniversary. And before, our payoff line was always world-class. And we didn't throw away that payoff line. But we then migrated the payoff line to evolving with technology. And when you look at the world that's around us, the only thing that's constant is change. So things are changing rapidly. So as an organization, we've introduced new products and services, new lines. First and foremostly, we've seen what's happening as we digitalize more processes.
Wait, before you move on, I actually wanted to ask this question later, but is that where Evolve Summit came from?
Yeah, definitely. Yes. Yeah, so when we came to our 30th anniversary, we said, what does Compulink what's our brand archetype? What do we want to be remembered for? What can we do for the market? And as our brand archetype is that of being a sage. And we said, okay, we're 30 years, which resembles coming to maturity, coming to age. So we want to be known as your trusted advisors within the market. And that's what birthed the Evolve ICT Summit, to say, how do we give back to the community? how do we give a knowledge management tool that will speak even into the generations, and a tool of longevity, and that's what birthed the Evolve ICT Summit.
Yeah. Before we shed much light, or rather before we talk more about the Evolve ICT Summit, just share a bit more on Compulink, like in terms of the services that you offer, as well as the different stakeholders that you represent. Who is your customer? And yeah, something like that.
Okay, so Compulink is been in business for next year will be 35 years in business. It was founded in 1990, operationalized in 1991, and we opened our doors on the 1st of July 1991. Our key services and our first initial service is in the networking space. And that's where we got our name, Compulink. So basically linking of devices, linking computers, linking branches. So we're very active in the networking space, local area networks, wide area networks, metropolitan area networks, your Wi-Fi networks, intelligent networks. So we're very active within the networking space. Then our second business unit is focusing on hardware. So we call it the systems hardware business unit. So there we offer, your full range of hardware, from servers, data center, storage equipment, laptops, desktops, printers, and the support as well for all of those devices. So if you've got any issues with any of your devices, Compulink is your plug. The other wing is software development and cloud technologies. So from your operating systems to your server software, to your database software tools, and even to custom software development, your chatbots, your mobile applications. We've got an arm and a division that's focusing on those services, and even migrating you from on-premise applications to cloud applications through partners like Microsoft, Amazon Web Services. We're able to actually then help you migrate even your workloads to work, whether you want to work in a hybrid setup or whether you want to work in the cloud. Then unified communications, so your voice, telephony solutions, video conferencing solutions, instant messaging solutions. So our fifth business unit is centered on cybersecurity. So as people have digitalized and moved a lot of their processes to digital applications and online, we've seen that the new threat of today is really cyber threats. People aren't robbing, the proneness of robbing banks, brick and mortar is much less. But now we're actually seeing digital threats, and there's actually much more money in digital assets that are now there. So we have this arm that's focused on cybersecurity awareness and coming up with tools and solutions that safeguard businesses who are online and people and individuals. So generally our clients are businesses, government, manufacturing, mining sector, individuals. So we serve most verticals, the education space. So we've got a diverse range and a diverse sphere. And we're actually in the process of also launching a retail and e-commerce platform. So we service anyone and everyone. So if you're thinking IT, think Compulink.
If you're thinking IT, think Compulink. Well, now I think this is the time that I have to jump into what I'm most excited about, which is the Evolve ICT Summit. Reason being, the Evolve ICT Summit was my breakthrough event, like in terms of director ceremonies and emceeing, the stuff that I'm doing for corporate events and so forth. Because after I did work for the Evolve ICT Summit, I then managed to get engaged with different stakeholders wanting me to do their events and so forth. After that, I think I did 2 more events that were AI related. Awesome. So that's why I'm saying I'm really, really excited about this. But from the underlining perspective, or rather from what I managed to notice from the whole event, or the organizing of the event, most of the themes were centralized, particularly on the issue of digitizing the ecosystem right here in Zimbabwe and so forth. So from where you stand, where do you see the biggest vulnerabilities in Zimbabwe's digital ecosystem right now?
I think the greatest vulnerability is going to be at your human layer.
Okay.
So if there's no awareness, people are just prone to attacks. So we need to develop a cyber-aware culture.
Okay.
In the past, IT was a back office support unit. But now ICT is actually the driving force. If you look at a bank, for example, it's no longer, these are technology entities. It's no longer a brick and mortar. If you look at insurance, it's all digitalized processes. If you look at, if you look at telemedicine, a lot of doctors are interacting with systems. A lot of doctors are implementing things digitally, or are even getting cures, online and interacting to say, okay, there's this issue, and they're interacting with systems. So I think having that culture and having that awareness, even in academia, to say that, guys, technology is here, and it's here to stay, and things have changed. So I think it's really now getting people to that page to say, things have now changed. How do we now adopt? Should we be teaching how we were teaching people 10 years ago? Okay. Should we be implementing systems the way we were implementing things 10, 15 years ago? So I think that is the greatest vulnerability, is to say the people layer. And when you look at Zimbabwe as a nation, we are one of the most cyber attacked countries in the whole of Africa. Okay. And this is probably due to a number of reasons. Firstly, we're using the United States dollar currency. And we are now largely, a plastic money society as well. So just having that awareness, it means that everyone needs to know, how do we operate digitally, and am I cyber safe? So a cyber awareness culture, because the attacks are happening, whether it's on WhatsApp, whether it's on your Kambudzi phone. Phishing attempts are happening. People are impersonating. Deep fakes are happening. How much information should I put online? You're traveling. We're now in the holiday season right now, as we speak. You are just enjoying, and you're saying, okay, now enjoying, I'm on holiday. But who is looking at your profile? Could be someone in your neighborhood. Oh, okay, they're on holiday. So I think just developing that awareness and that culture. I think government is doing a sterling job in terms of trying to address that.
Yeah, there have been a lot of developments, particularly from the government side. I think we're going to talk about them in a minute. But before we do that, one of the major issues of concern that I've heard from most of the AI-related events that I've participated, including the Evolve ICT Summit, was the issue of infrastructure gaps in terms of adapting to digitizing and so forth, particularly right here in Zimbabwe. So the question that I want to ask is, what do you think are the major digital infrastructure gaps in Zimbabwe? And how do you think we must fix it first if we want to be a competitive digitized economy in Africa?
I think the first would definitely be power. Yes. Access to power generation. Yeah. That forms, the bedrock, because if we don't have power, as much as we want the connectivity, but if the service providers are struggling with power, if they're struggling with those issues, it's going to provide an issue concerning connectivity. The next thing would be the next layer, which I'll then say is the connectivity. We need to have an environment where people have access to affordable connectivity and stable connectivity. Because we've got young people who want to develop applications. And as technology moves at a faster and rapid rate, we're going to have more compute-hungry applications. So the connectivity needs to also be solid. And it needs to be affordable and accessible to be able to give people a platform. And then affordability. How affordable is it to get people in the rural areas to have access to computers, to have access to devices, to have access to the technology, so we leave no one behind. As Zimbabwe, we migrated to plastic money. Probably at a fast rate, not by design, but a lot of people were left behind in the process. So how do we leave? We don't want a situation where we leave the vulnerable behind. We don't want anyone left behind with the digital bandwagon, or no one to be left. We don't want anyone left behind from the digital transformation process or from the economy, even as things adapt and as things move. So as things have shifted, we really need to address those layers and really look and say, is everyone able to get access? Is everyone able to participate in the economy?
Interesting. There have been quite a number of developments just recently. I think just a few weeks ago, we had the second phase of the National Development Strategy being rolled out. And in particular, it's the government's initiative to push Zimbabwe to be an upper middle income economy by 2030. What does a fully digitized economy or a fully digitized Zimbabwe look like to you?
I think a fully digitalized Zimbabwe really looks like a quantum leap. It's where our processes are integrated. Our registry is integrated. Where a person's passport is basically renewed online. It's where manual processes are eradicated. It's where credit checks can be done online, and a society where things are moving at just a fast rate. And I think technology plays a key pillar and a key foundation as a bedrock to enable us to make that quantum leap. When processes have been digitalized, we move away from having to go into a bank and you're filling out, form after form. You're filling out form after form, or information is required and you need to go there physically. But it's an integrated society where everything is speaking into the other. When you look at crime prevention, for example, CCTV cameras across the street. It's a smart city. When you look at tolls, our toll gates, we're looking at e-tolling, that you basically just cross through the toll gate and you're automatically charged. You're looking at criminal offenses that through facial recognition of cameras, that someone who's committed a crime can immediately be identified, and through the central registry they can already identify that this person has committed this crime. So it provides numerous opportunities which will really help us leapfrog, really help propel even our GDP growth, even for the nation of Zimbabwe, and create an integrated society where business is able to thrive. And this can only be done leveraging off of the data that's there. And the data is the new goal.
Yeah, we just had the new allocation of the national budget for the 2026 just recently, And reportedly, it allocates that only a modest amount was provided to the ICT ministry compared to what was requested. Do you think that this level of funding that was provided is actually sufficient to support Zimbabwe's digital economy or digital infrastructure, transformation ambitions rather?
I think we need to invest more into ICT.
Okay.
And I think the budget, and as we progress, ICT is not a back office, it's the driver.
Sure.
And when we basically have that paradigm shift that ICT is actually the driving force.
Yeah.
When you look at China, when you look at India, for example,
Yeah.
a couple of decades ago, they made a conscious decision to say that we are going to be leaders in the technology space.
Okay.
China, as we speak, they've introduced coding, even at kindergarten level. People are now getting introduced to coding. People are now being exposed to artificial intelligence at a very young age. And what has that resulted in? Is that China is now a leader. When you look at India, for example, India is now a huge leader in the technology space in terms of software development, in terms of contact centers.
Yeah.
And we're seeing that, even Zimbabwe now, with our good English and with our high literacy rate, is now also joined the bandwagon in terms of now business process automation, in terms of BPOs as well, in terms of contact centers as well.
Yeah.
So we need to invest more into technology.
Yeah.
And technology is going to be able to help us leapfrog even at a far much more rapid rate than some of the things we've been investing into.
Yeah.
So I would advocate to say, moving forward, definitely there's need for us to support and buttress technology more. And we definitely need to allocate more funds to technology.
Yeah, I think just in addition to what you have said, just to complement what you had already said, the biggest issue is around the issues of access, because we are saying we've got people that are coming from all these underserved areas. You go to your rural areas, they do not have access to these digital services. And, internet penetration in Zimbabwe is believed to be still under 40% as of 2025. And there are so many underserved communities with regards to ICT access and all of that stuff. My next question was to go back to the question that I had asked before, which was about infrastructure gaps. What are the key infrastructure gaps that you think must be addressed to really make digital services meaningful at a national scale, like the ambitions that we have?
All right. So I think we touched on a couple.
Yeah.
Looking at some of the government initiatives which they've done, which have been absolutely sterling, is that countrywide they've introduced community information centers, which I think they're now terming as digitalization centers through Portras, where you go to a digitalization center and you get free access to internet. You get free access to use devices and gadgets within the communities. I feel that this now needs to go widespread, that we actually have an environment where at our parks we have more of this, that we have free Wi-Fi in certain areas or free Wi-Fi zones where people come and they use solutions. More access even within rural areas to data centers, for example, to sandboxes. So if we've got a developer who's in a rural area, that they're able to have a sandbox even within the rural area to say, I want to test this fintech solution, and be able to go to that place and know that they've got the power and know that they've got the compute to actually develop these applications. And I think Strive Masiwa with Cassava and some of their partnerships are also looking to say, how can we bring access to GPUs to Africa? How can we bring access to that compute power that's required for people to start interacting even with AI platforms and to start actually localizing the data. You know, one of the unfortunate things is a lot of people are interacting with these large language models, but the data is now being harvested by, by, by entities which now have more information to issues that are taking place within our country, where we should be localizing the data. And we should have a competitive edge over these international companies, over our information, and we will be able to start building our narrative, and we'll be able to start using that data to have a competitive edge, which will give Zimbabwe a competitive edge, which will give Africa a competitive edge beyond the counterparts third-party counterparts who are actually leveraging and learning more about our country and about our data than we actually know about our country and our data.
If I get you right, you are talking about the decentralization of technology hubs within all these different areas that marginalized. What challenges do you think might be there? And maybe just looking from an organization perspective of Compulink, do you think you might have a role that you might have to play in this decentralization of ICT and all of that?
Yeah, definitely. I think Compulink definitely has a key role to play in that.
Yeah.
And I think one of the things that Compulink looked at was coming up with the Evolve ICT Summit. To say, how do we get the young people involved? Yeah. How do we identify young people to get access to technology at a young age? How do we get them to get the exposure? Because you can't take people where they've never been. Yeah. So we need to say, how can we get the Microsofts to come here? How can we get the Googles of this world to come here? And get young people to get exposure to the technologies, to interact with the technologies, and know that these things actually exist and they're actually there. Yeah. Starlink has done a brilliant job in terms of bringing connectivity at an affordable rate. Yeah. And I think once Starlink came, we've seen prices of most of the data providers actually be reduced. Yeah. But I still think there's room for those reductions. Okay. And really looking and saying how can we be more conscious? How can we work even with the regulator, with Portras, with other players to ensure that connectivity is ubiquitous, and the access is ubiquitous. So really, that's we would really like to amplify even the voice of government, NDS2, which is really speaking and saying we're a smart Zimbabwe. Our national digitalization strategy, we're digitalizing, but how do we bring it to a practical level? Yeah. But it's going to take everyone being on board, from government to academia, all the different stakeholders, because gone are the days to say the first time you're interacting with a device is you're 20 years old and you're already behind. Yeah. Because our counterparts, you look at the founders of Stripe. These were two Irish gentlemen who grew up in rural Ireland. Yeah. But they were able to get access to these tools. And our future Bill Gates, yeah, our future Jeff Bezos, our future Strive Masiwas, could actually be in these areas. So how do we get them involved? And how do we get them to know that this is what's there? And with the Evolve ICT Summit, we've introduced and tried our best to say, how can we subsidize this for students? How can we get this to as many people as much as possible? And how can we create a platform where people network and a platform where people get exposure and where knowledge is transferred from those who know to everyone, yeah, who would like to be a part of joining the digital bandwagon.
Interesting. I just want to take you back shortly. There was something that you mentioned about Zimbabwe being one of the most vulnerable countries in terms of cyber attacks. But in your comment, you also spoke about the surge in plastic money and so forth, which is more of the digital currency that we're having. So, I don't know, despite growing digital financial activity, in Zimbabwe, I still believe there remains this big cash dependency across the board, with many people still preferring cash over digital money. In your view, what do you think are the biggest non-technical barriers that are actually stopping people from saying, you know, I've got my cash. I wouldn't want to put my money in a bank and use that ATM card, or I wouldn't want to use EcoCash or Omari or PayNow or all those different platforms that are available. What do you think they are the biggest barriers? I'd like to believe it's also on the psychological issues with regarding to that.
Yeah, definitely. I think the biggest barrier is the charges.
Okay.
Because when you look at the IMTT tax, it's inflationary. Because I borrow from you. You send me money. You're charged 2%. I'm charged 2%. So when you look at it, it's already inflationary. When you look at the pricing structure, even across the economy, you'll find that a lot of organizations will tell you there's a US nostril price, and then there's a US dollar cash price, and then there's an eco cash price. So we need to do away with those disparities because it's inflationary. The other thing is cash. Once people operate in a cash environment, they're able to then circumvent the tax base. But we need to create an enabling environment where people want to pay the tax. And when you look at the IMTT tax era, you actually find that when EcoCash had just come out, you could actually pay within a combi or within a public transport. You could pay through EcoCash, and it wasn't a big deal. So we need to go back to a place where plastic money is acceptable, and plastic money is deemed just the same as actually receiving the cash. And I think we really need to look at the taxes. We really need to look at the charges to really then make it something that someone doesn't feel prejudiced to say I've lost 3% of the value or I've lost 2% of the value. So I think those are some of the things that we need to look at. And I think once we do that, once that informal economy is formalized, government will realize much more revenue, possibly than it's been realizing from trying to garner IMTT tax.
I think
and that's just a personal view.
I do understand. I think this then feeds into the issues that have to do with digital inclusion. Just making sure that each and every individual is not really primarily separated from the whole issues that have to do with us as individuals, making sure that when we are working, we are making use of all these different digital platforms. I just want to shift our conversation from local and national perspective to then move it onto a continental perspective. Reason being is the reason why we're having all these different developments from the government and everybody else is because obviously we want Zimbabwe to be competitive on the international market. So as Africa is increasingly embracing digitalization, data services, mobile money, artificial intelligence, cross-border digital solutions, what do you think are the biggest opportunities for Zimbabwean firms that are participating in this ICT sector?
I think the greatest opportunity is shifting our mindset and viewing ourselves as part of the global economy. Technology has brought us into the global economy. We no longer need to think simply within the confines of Zimbabwe.
Yeah.
But we need to start thinking, how can we create, multinational organizations? How can we create Pan-African organizations?
Yeah.
Technology has given us a marketplace whereby we are borderless within our reach. So if someone has developed an application,
Yeah.
if someone has developed, it's so easy for you to then scale it. It's so easy for you to then replicate it. Because the problems that we're faced with in Zimbabwe, more likely than not, other countries are probably facing the same challenges.
Same issues. Yeah.
And basically coming up with an enabling environment where we have innovation hubs, we have startup ecosystems, we have people who are able to then fund these organizations. And basically the same way, in the past, we had the Christopher Columbuses who were going out and they were colonizing, that we actually create solutions whereby we're able to grow Africa.
Yeah.
And, to grow Africa outside of debt. But we go to a place where we are introducing benefaction to what we are offering. So gone are the days of where we are offering just, raw materials.
Yeah.
But we're offering solutions.
Yeah.
We're offering the final product. And we're owning our marketplace.
Yeah. Yeah.
And we're pushing and we're selling our narrative. Yeah. And one of the ways we're going to be able to do that and to make it sustainable is a lot more intra-Africa trade. And really burning the bridges of the borders that have physically been put, were intentionally put into our minds by colonizers. Yeah. Some could be language barriers, some could be infrastructure. That you drive on this side of the road, you drive on this side of the road, or rail systems are different. Yeah. Which were probably caused by colonizers, but coming to a place and saying, guys, as Africa, let's interact. Yeah. Let's work together. Let's synergize. Yeah. And Africa is poised. It's the last final frontier for quantum growth, and Zimbabwe is poised as well. Yeah. Truly as a jewel of Africa.
So conversely, when we're looking at all these different markets, whether it's South Africa, whether it's Mozambique, whether it's Zimbabwe, or whether it's Zambia, you would notice that obviously there's uneven infrastructure. You would notice that possibly there will be regulation differences as well, digital divide, and also issues like data governance issues. What does the risk of an organization that is operating in Zimbabwe like Compulink, what are the risks out there for you to say we're now scaling to move into Mozambique or maybe to move into South Africa, despite the different markets issues that would be penetrating those different areas?
Yeah, so I think every jurisdiction will come with its own risks. Yeah. And barriers. Yeah. I feel that the greatest risks, obviously you have to go in and you need to do a risk assessment and really see, but the greatest risk will probably be from a regulatory standpoint and a framework. But I think once we bridge the regulatory framework, we need to start look at trading blocks to say, okay, what's COMESA doing? As SADC, what are their advantages? As AU, what are the advantages? How can we interact? And I think conscious efforts are being made at those levels to introduce, trading blocks, free trading areas, free trading blocks. So I think we need a lot more of that. But I think it's really understanding the regulatory framework, understanding the cultures within those societies. Yeah. But I think once that's understood, I think we need to no longer view, let's say, for example, Zimbabwe and Mozambique, to view ourselves as different people, but to view ourselves as brothers.
Yeah.
But that, these borders are more of mental borders.
Yeah.
And I feel once we do that, we'll be able to scale and grow our businesses much quicker and much faster with that Ubuntu society and mindset of growing together.
Yeah.
And saying that, it's only a win if we all win, and not just Zimbabweans, but Africans as well.
I really get excited when we talk about the development of Zimbabwe, particularly to operate from a global scale, or rather from a continental scale. But rather, it's rather unfortunate that when we're having these interviews, or rather when we're shooting a set like this, we always have to make sure that we round up and also leave the audience with a food for thought. So before we end our conversation for this afternoon, maybe evening for some people that are viewing from different places, maybe this morning, depending with our viewers' different geographies and so forth, demographies rather. What are we planning with regards to the Evolve ICT Summit? I see we already have posters inviting us for the 2026 Evolve ICT Summit. What's going to be different from the one that we had this year, or rather the one that we had last year as well?
All right, thanks for asking that, Tinashe. So I think this edition, the 2026 edition, is really to see how we can grow it to be more of in the region. So to see how can we get more regional leaders, how can we get more world leaders to be part and parcel of it. We're hoping to get more international companies as well coming on board and actually coming and exhibiting and showcasing what they have and also presenting what they have. So it's really our hope and prayer that it will be bigger and better. And that it's going to grow. It's going to be a platform for exhibiting. It's going to be a platform for networking. And it's really going to set us apart that someone who goes there, it's not going to be an ordinary conference, but a conference where the tools that you're equipped with are things that are tangible and that you can immediately start to implement and see results as an individual, as a business owner, as a startup, or even as an established company. So we hope it's going to be a marketplace and that the influence is going to grow.
Okay, so for just representing people my age, the Generation Z, of course, most of my colleagues are still in university. They're still students. If they are going to come at the Evolve ICT Summit, what exactly should they expect?
Yeah, so Tinashe, this year it's going to be really exciting for the students. What we've done is we've separated the summit for students and for the commercial sector. So there's going to be a standalone event that's going to be available for the students. And like what we said, we've subsidized the cost to see how can we make it as inclusive as possible. So for the students who are in university, we're going to have 2 editions for the students. One that's going to be in Harare that will focus on the northern region of the country, and another edition that's going to be in Bulawayo, which will focus for the southern region. So really looking at not leaving anyone behind, from the students, whether you've got students who are in high school or students who are in the universities. And for the students, we know that a lot of students, now, you've got entrepreneurs who are in high school, some in primary school. So we're also going to equip them with knowledge to say, how can you commercialize your idea? How can you safeguard your idea? Who are the correct people to speak to ensure that your idea is commercialized and that you're going to be able to grow and scale your business? So it's going to be really, really exciting for the students. If you're young, start to calendarize the dates, and it's going to be epic. Don't miss out.
Yeah, you spoke about the calendar. When are we expecting to have the event?
The dates for the Evolve ICT Summit is the 11th to the 12th of June, and that's for adults. We're still finalizing the dates for the students, and we will communicate the dates for the Northern Region edition and for the Southern Region edition, just as the calendars for 2026 come out.
All right, thank you, Simon. So at the Simudzirayi Podcast, we have a closing tradition where we ask CEOs or managing directors random questions related to their lifestyles and so forth. So I've got a couple of questions that I have for you. I hope you don't mind.
No, don't
All
mind
right.
at all.
Yep. So my first question that I'm going to ask, since this is about ICT, if CEOs had a dating app, what would your bio say?
Oh man. That's a tough one.
Yeah.
That's a tough one. If CEOs had a dating app, what would my bio say?
Yeah.
Well, I think my bio would say Simon is a tech evangelist
Okay.
who loves to see the lives of people impacted through the use of technology. Passionate about Africa, passionate about Zimbabwe, passionate about development, loves leadership, a student of leadership, and someone who loves giving back to the community, who loves God, and a believer in Jesus Christ.
Amen. Moving on to the second question. If your leadership style was a dish, a Zimbabwean dish to be specific, what would it be?
Right. Okay, so when you're saying dish, is that a food dish?
Yeah.
Ah, right. Sadza and oxtail.
You had to make sure it was oxtail. I wasn't expecting that. Sadza and mazondo. Yeah.
Sadza regio.
Sadza and mazondo. Yeah. We'll move on to the third question. What's one corporate buzzword you wish it should be deleted in the world completely?
Corporate buzzword.
Yes.
Oh man. Ah, that's a tough one. A corporate buzzword. That's a tough one. Corporate buzzword.
It's been my last email.
Oh, okay. Corporate buzzword. Man, I'm gonna. Okay, let me think of it. Then I think we'll need to take it. Corporate buzzword.
You love all of them.
Buzzword. That should be erased. Give me examples, guys.
Examples, corporate buzzwords. But let's say corporate statement.
No corporate statement.
Yeah.
Okay, corporate buzzword. Maybe I'll okay, yeah. Go. Let's do the corporate buzzword. But
Yeah.
I'll shift it. I'll put a twist to it.
Yeah.
All right. So I think the corporate buzzword, which I think should be erased, probably from our resumes, is works well without supervision.
Works well without supervision.
Yeah.
Hard worker.
Yeah, probably. Yeah. Hard worker works well
Without supervision.
without supervision, especially if you're applying as a graduate trainee or as an intern, because you're going to need to work with supervision.
Yeah. Interesting.
Yeah.
Now let's move on to the fourth one before we move to the last question. If you had to run your company with only 3 emojis, what would they be?
I think the first one would definitely be a big smile, which resembles happiness. I think the second would be a heart, really in terms of the empathy, loving what we do and giving back to others. Then the third one, I think, would definitely probably have to be a laugh. And,
Okay.
I think having fun along the way.
Yeah.
I think fun. You spend we spend most of our working time, within the marketplace. So yeah, I think having fun as well. So yeah.
It's one of those. Then we move on to the last one. What's the weirdest email that you've ever received in a serious corporate meeting?
Weirdest email, man.
Yeah.
Tinashe, these are difficult. Right in the middle of a meeting. Ah, man. This one I'll need to think as well.
Or you've never received any of those? Seems like you keep your employees in check. Or maybe your stakeholders, they're kept in check.
Yeah, I think sucks. Weirdest email. Yeah, man, it's in a meeting.
Yeah.
That's a tough one.
That's a tough one. I think we can change the question.
Yeah,
Let's
that's a
change the
tough
question.
one.
If Zimbabwe introduced a CEO Olympics competition, what event do you think you'd win gold?
Chess.
No field athlete.
Maybe basketball.
Basketball. Track.
Long distance.
Long distance. Any long distance race.
Yeah, maybe 3,000.
3,000 kilometers. Okay. We'll take that one. We'll take that one. Yeah. So
1.5,
ladies and gentlemen, this marks the end of the Simudzirayi Podcast. Simon, thank you for sparing your time to be with here and, of course, with our wonderful audience. We really appreciate you for
thanks.
coming through.
Thanks so much, Tinashe, for having me on the show. It's been an honor and a privilege.
Yeah, I look forward to meeting you again in the ICT World Summit.
All right.
Yeah. All right, ladies and gentlemen, there you have it. I'm looking forward to meeting you for our next episode on the Simudzirayi Podcast. Till we meet again, it's bye for now.